And there would always be like an excerpt from the book of Shh. And I just thought it was so funny to just hear the narrator have to keep saying the book of Shh. Welcome to my channel. My name is Andrew. I'm continuing my recent reads videos, and I don't know how many times you're gonna see this shirt. I'm just not here to be fake anymore. Like, I'm pre-recording so that the videos aren't all gonna be like an hour long. I can't talk about every single book I've read for 45 minutes in a video and then have to edit that. Like, no, you don't care. I'm gonna leave my playlist to all my recent reads if you wanna check any of them out. I'll try to put like in the thumbnail, like which books I have read. So if you wanna see my specific thoughts on any book, I'm gonna try to do that just for you guys. Like, I'll try to do that just for you. All right, now let's talk about the next 5 books that I read. I don't remember the first person who recommended this to me or what made me decide to pick it up. I think I put it on hold at the library. I got a notification it was ready. That book is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. Station 11. Station 11 was good. It was good. I gave it 4 stars. It's a book about a pandemic, so I read it at a very apt time. It takes place in like pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, and there's like this main like cast of characters you're following that this is like definitely, it's not a plot driven book. So the fact that I gave it 4 stars, like it did what it came to do, and I think I did it well, but I also, like, it's kind of just a book about the human experience. Like, it's just, I wouldn't say to read this for the action or like the thrill. Like, I definitely wouldn't recommend it for that, but I do think it was a good book, and I think that it talked about the human experience in an interesting way, like, and how people dealt with stuff pre-pandemic versus post-pandemic. And they're talking about, like, I remember there was like a part in the book that was like, oh, there was a time when, because it was post-pandemic, and they were like, there used to be a time when people could just like call each other and talk on the phone, and it was so easy to just reach another human being on the other side of the world in like 2 seconds flat. And I was like, it just makes you kind of appreciate all the things that we do have. And there was a really creepy line, like it creeped me out in a way, because it was talking about how this book universe is about a pandemic that wiped out all of humanity. And they're talking about how there could have been a pandemic just a little bit different, or the disease could have been just slightly different, where it didn't wipe out all of humanity, but it affected people in a strong way. And I was like, so like our life right now. I just had to give it 4 stars. I would definitely recommend it. The audiobook was really good too. And like, I like when there's like a whole topic about if people do or don't enjoy like multiple timelines. But I think if it's just 2 timelines, we've got the future and the past. Like, we're not really in, well, I guess it's kind of like current day and then the past. Like, it's post-pandemic and pre-pandemic. So it's not too hard to get your head around. I would definitely recommend it if the cover intrigues you. Also, I forgot to mention, like, the main cast that you're following, they're like reenacting Shakespeare. So if that's your vibe, definitely recommend it. Now, let's move on to my most unpopular book opinion like ever. Although I do know some pretty, listen, if you somehow found me and you didn't enjoy this book, then you should check out Daniel Green's review. You should check out his channel, watch some of his videos. You might appreciate them. I'm sure you've heard of him. He's very big. But that book is 6 of Crows. I did not rate this book because I didn't like this book. And this is when I just had a moment with myself, when I just decided I just don't think Leigh Bardugo's books are for me, because I didn't enjoy her. Also, I want to say A Dash of Ash, like she said, like when you're reading her books, you're just like waiting for things to happen. You're just waiting and waiting and waiting for things to happen, and then like a bunch of stuff happens at the end. And that's like kind of how I felt about 6 of Crows. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. I'm sorry. I just found it to be, it was like, at first, when I first started it, I was like, oh yeah, like this is gonna be so much better than Shadow and Bone. Like, this is gonna be amazing. Like, I'm gonna enjoy this so much more, because like she's actually taking the time to like explain what's happening. Like, I don't need explained magic, like that's fine, but I feel as though there wasn't enough other things happening, and it was just so character driven, and I'm much more interested in plot than characters personally. And everybody, I honestly couldn't tell you. Again, I just can't remember what happens. I just remember like Kaz and Inej being the most hyped up characters I've ever heard of on the planet, and no one ever talks about Nina and Matthias. Like, no one ever even says anything about Nina and Matthias, and I was so invested in anything that happened with Nina and Matthias. It was my favorite part of the show. Also, it was my favorite part of the book. And the guy who narrates Matthias, that voice, oh man, that was like warm honey butter. His voice is so sexy. Yeah, maybe because I listened to the audiobook, I would give it another try. I would give her like Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom another try, and I really want to read Ninth House too, because I think that it's just like I just think urban fantasy is like more of what I'm interested in, because Cassandra Clare is all urban fantasy, and I like more urban fantasy, fairy tale type stuff, because that's what I loved about Shadow and Bone. The first book, it had like fairy tale-ish, folklore-ish vibes, and I just didn't really get that kind of vibe from Six of Crows. Like, and I just felt like it's hard. See, I actually feel like it's hard for me to discuss books that I don't like, because I just try to remove them from my memory, because I would much rather talk to you about books that I love. Like, that's just how I'd rather spend my time, and I don't want to think about books that I don't like. I just don't. Like, I definitely thought the beginning with the magic system and how like the Grisha were getting like their powers were being enhanced by, I would maybe like, let me know if you've listened to the audiobook and if you enjoyed it, let me know, because maybe that just is why I didn't enjoy it. Like, I would maybe give it a shot physically next time I read it, because I feel like I missed something on this one. I don't know. I also had said in my review, like, I just think it's like her, like Leigh Bardugo's like tone of writing. I don't know how to explain it. Like, she's just so dark. Like, it's so dark, but I feel like I've enjoyed other things that are dark, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was just too dark for me, I guess. Like, it's so gritty. Like, it's so gritty. Like, I can't say she's trying too hard, because like she's trying perfectly according to 500,000 other people that are obsessed with her work. Like, but to me, it wasn't as lighthearted as I would have liked. I prefer my stories to have a good balance of humor, to like kind of balance out that like doom and gloom. And I just feel like it was all doom and gloom. Like, there was so much doom and gloom. Please don't kill me. I'm so sorry to trash your fave. Listen, I don't think I said what Six of Crows is about, because I expect most of you already know. But if you don't know, somehow, Six of Crows is a story about a ragtag gang of misfits all getting together and trying to they go into like the deepest, most dangerous, it's the most dangerous like jail that they have to get into, and it's called like Hell's Gate, which, like, you know, I love when characters go to hell. That's like the best thing to read. But anyways, it's about them trying to get this it's like a magical potion they have to get that, like, it's amping up Grisha powers, and there's like this guy who like really, really wants them to like get the magical powers and then bring it back to them, and there's like a reward. So they go in there. I'm gonna read it again. I know I'm gonna read it again, because I just need to. It's just so rare. Like, I always like popular stuff. Like, I usually enjoy popular stuff, but I'm just having, I don't know. Will I read it again? I don't know. At some point in my life, I would give it another shot, but probably not for a while. Sorry, I have a lot to say about it, because I feel like I have to defend my stance, because I know it's unpopular, but Murphy Napier also, who loved the Grisha trilogy. She like loves the Grisha trilogy. She didn't like Six of Crows at first. So, and she is super well read in the fantasy genre, so I'm just gonna use that a little bit to validate myself, just a little bit. So anyways, if you haven't clicked off the video and you're somehow still here, thanks. All right, moving on. Let's talk about Delirium by Lauren Oliver, which I did rate, and I gave it 3 stars. So don't think that I'm like, it would have been hilarious to me personally if I like didn't like Six of Crows and then I gave Delirium 5 stars. That would have been hilarious. I have no idea what made me want to pick up this book. I am kind of interested to continue this series, but there's so many other series I would rather read. This is a story about a girl in a world where love is illegal and people get like shot or like a treatment to like never fall in love. And she meets this boy before she gets the shot. So, you know, obviously she like falls for him. It was very interesting take. And I was listening to the audiobook, and they always had these like excerpts at the beginning of the chapters, because there's this thing called the Book of Shh, and there would always be like an excerpt from the Book of Shh, and I just thought it was so funny to just hear the narrator have to keep saying the Book of Shh, like she had to say it at the beginning of every chapter, and it was just so funny. But so there would be like excerpts from that, and it was supposed to be like all these like laws and rules that you have to follow about why you shouldn't be in love. and how a lot of people in this whole society, it's like it's a dystopian. It's a lot like The Giver. It reminds me of The Giver a lot, because I know in The Giver there's like a whole world where your character like thinks everything is perfect, and at the end they make like, well, I don't want to spoil The Giver, but it has a similar ending to The Giver. So, and I loved The Giver. That was probably one of my favorite. I actually read that book in school. That's one of the few books I actually picked up and finished in school. So like, I'm kind of intrigued to continue this series. Like, I might continue it if I just like have endless amounts of time available and no other books to read, which will never happen. But it was good. I mean, it was 3 stars. Like, it was like the most 3 stars ever. Like, I feel like most of the time 3 stars is like, I could have gone lower, could have gone higher. Like, this is exactly at 3 stars. Like, this is not a 2 star or like a 2.5. Like, this was a 3 star, maybe even like a 3.25 for me, because it like reminded me of one of my like childhood faves. So it was good enough. But, and it does, like, the book does eventually get into like, it's pretty plot driven after like the beginning. Like, the first third is a little but like the last 2/3 are pretty plot driven. There's a lot happening at that point. So as I'm talking about it, I'm kind of like, and as I've been thinking about it since I read it, which I read it back in like March, I think, I'm kind of like, maybe I want to continue that. Maybe I would pick that up again. And I'm pretty sure I can get it through the library without having to wait at all. So like, it would be very easy to get. But again, I counted how many like things I have. Like, first of all, I have 500 books on the Libby app that are just like books I want to read, and then I have over 100 book series, multiple books. Most of them are 3 books or longer, and all of those I'm also interested in. So like, do I really want to keep going with this series? But at the same time, listen, Six of Crows was a disappointment, and I have been disappointed by a lot of other things since then. And Delirium was like fine and cute and fast. So like, maybe I will continue. Maybe I will. So maybe in a future video, you're gonna see me reviewing Requiem, or whatever the second one is called. It's like Delirium, what is it? I can look it up right here. Pandemonium is the second one, which, yeah, I love that word, pandemonium, because like, demon is in it. Let's move on. So the next book after that is it my favorite thriller of the year? I have such good memories of this. It's called The One by John Mars. This premise sounds like it's gonna be, the premise is there's this DNA thing you can use to find out like your DNA match, like the perfect person for, like the one for you. And you can take the test and you can be paired up with this person. Some people that I talked to were like, oh, that sounds like it's gonna be like cheesy. Honey, no. This is like a thriller. Like it's a thriller, but it's like every single chapter ends on like a cliffhanger, and you're following so many perspectives of all these different people all over the world, and they all are like getting their match, or like their wife is getting their match, or some people who are straight are getting matched with like other men. And then there's so many twists at the end that just make you think, wait a minute, so then is what I just read really what just happened? Or, oh man, I gave this one 4 stars because I thought the author was doing something at the end that I thought was going to be one of my favorite reveals ever. But that's not how the story ended, so I had to just but this is like a 4.5. Like, this is really high. This is like, I gave it 4 stars because it wasn't what I expected, but that should be a stupid reason, and I should stop doing that. And I should just because I was so entertained by this book, and I was listening to this at work, like walking around I work at an apartment. I was like walking around the whole complex, like listening to this, and I kept like coming into the office to just be like, gasp, like gagged. Next chapter ends, gagged. Oh man, this was so good. My only critique is the ending, but also I loved the ending. Like, I think the author did probably something even better than what I wanted. No, I still wish it had ended the way I wanted it to, because I think it would have, I wish that he had written it, I wish he'd done everything that he had done and added the reveal I wanted. That would have made it a full-on 5 stars. But this is really like a 4.75. It's so good. Like, it just barely missed the mark. So, highly recommend. The characters are definitely not like the strong suit, but like the characters go through it. Like, they go through it. Especially Mindy. Oh man, that woman did so many things happen to her. Oh man, I want to listen to it again. But highly recommend. I think you'll be on the edge of your seat the whole time. I think the way every chapter ends, you will be very compulsed to continue reading, and you'll probably want to skip back to that perspective, because it's 6 perspectives. So you and one of the perspectives is a serial killer. So you really need to check that out. highly recommend. All right, and the next book that I read is like the only one in this whole video that I actually have a physical copy of. The next book that I read and finished was Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. This reminded me so much of the Pixar movie Coco in a way, but this is a little bit more horror-ish. Like, it's YA horror, so like it's definitely not, you know. This is about Yadriel, who is trying to prove to his family, so Yadriel is trans, he's a boy, and he's trying to prove to his family that he's a real brujo, and he summons like the wrong ghost, and they just go on this whole entire adventure throughout the book. It was super cute and it was super fun. The author is also trans, so the trans rep is, I think, pretty good, but it really reminded me of the movie Coco. So like, if you like the movie Coco, and there's a lot of Spanish in this book, it was really good. Okay, and I actually do think I was a little bit shook by the ending of this book, like plot-wise. So is it really easy to shock me with plot twists? I guess. I just try not to think about them. I try not to think, because I want to like not see plot twists coming. Like, I want to be shook. Like, I want whiplash when I read. Like, I want to be shook to my core. And like, this wasn't like whiplash level, but I definitely was like, I appreciate like what the author did at the end. But the whole dynamic with like the family was really good. You know, there was a lot of like Latinx references, so definitely recommend for sure. So that's the next 5 books that I read this year. I would love to know your thoughts on any of them. If you've read them, I would love for you to follow me on Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, all be in the description. I'd love it if you subscribed. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, then I really appreciate it. I'm very curious. I would love to find anybody else anywhere out there who can hear me that didn't super love Six of Crows. Like, we need to have like it needs to be like a club or something, because man, the hype on that novel is insane. I've read some really hyped stuff this year though, and some of it I do agree with, like some of it. But all right, well, have a good day. Bye.